Hi guys, I'm here with Alex Evers, who, as we all probably know, has done a lot of amazing photography with Golden 60 and has been with the Hong Kong Jockey Club for a while now. So I'm going to ask Alex a bit about. Hi Alex, first of all.
Hi, how's
welcome.
It going?
Yeah, pretty good.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, and nice to finally meet you in person because we've been following each other on social media. So tell me a little bit about how you got into the Hong Kong Jockey Club, first of all, and a bit about your experience and Golden 60, obviously.
So in 2017, I'd kind of been like following a little bit of the racing here, and I followed Joe Moreira's story a little bit. I thought it'd be really cool to get to photograph him. And in the United States, we had this thing called EquestriaCon, which was a horse racing centric convention every 3 days at Saratoga. And we had a photography panel. It was like, 3 or 4 photographers telling stories about a couple pictures. And it was like the first panel in the first morning at early, like 8 o'clock. And no one wanted to talk first. And I was like, well, I guess I'll talk first. And Pat Cummings happened to just pop in, and he was here at the time. And listened to me talk, listened to my story, and texted me. He's like, hey, I'd love to have a beer with you, meet, blah, blah. So he gave me the first invite in 2017. And I just got married in 2016, and we got married in October. And so I had some like miles saved up from our honeymoon, and I used the credit card points to come here. And I took no pay from work from my corporate job to just, I figured it'd be a good opportunity to come. And I came, and I never thought that I would come back. I had too much fun, and I had a really miserable shoot that first day. Like I had batteries dying and everything I wanted to do. Like I said, I wanted to shoot head on for the sprint because I didn't really have a client. I was just here for myself and to make pretty pictures. And I figured a Hong Kong guy would win the sprint and celebrate. And the cameras are giving me issues. The wireless is giving me issues. I don't go shoot the head on. And it was like DB Pin and I think Mr. Stunning. And they're celebrating and they're high-fiving, and it's a picture I always wanted to make, and I don't get that picture either. And I'm just like, I've come all this way
and
I'm just like, this is miserable. Like I'm having such a bad go. And then Beauty Generation wins the mile, and the light was incredible. And then Derek comes back and he grabs him by the blinkers and kisses him. And I posted that picture on social media. And then a couple days later, Pat Cummings hit me. Oh my God, we love this shot. He's like, can we buy this picture? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, a couple others that they wanted to buy. And so that kind of started the relationship. And then I got back, found out that I was going to be laid off from my corporate job. And then 2 days later, Pat called me and he goes, hey, could you mind coming for the Classic Series? Which I had no idea what it was. And I was like, of course I'll come. And he's like, yeah, it's 2 weeks away. I was like, I'll book it there. And then the rest is history. I've been coming ever since.
That's crazy. So what did you do in the corporate world? What was your job?
I was a photographer, and I was just a corporate photographer for an aerospace company. So photographing hardware being built, people, magazine work for the internal publications. It was really boring, but it was good to be able to take pictures every day and play around. And actually I would challenge myself to hold the camera steady and shoot in bad light, and I just use it as like an educational tool basically to hone my skills a little bit to hopefully one day get to do something like this.
That's fantastic. So we'll come back to Golden 60. Now we were talking about your photography. So when you were a young lad, and tell me a little bit about how you ended up becoming a photographer. Is it something you were always passionate about doing, or did it just sort of fall in your lap?
No, it kind of fell in my lap. Growing up, I wanted to be a jockey when I was a little kid, and obviously I got too big and I played hockey instead. And then in my teenage years, I always followed racing from like earliest memories on. And I was going to go train racehorses, but I didn't work in a barn and never touched a horse. No, like I had no real tangible skills to get to that thing. And they had University of Arizona in the United States, and my parents really wanted me to go to school, and they told me that was the way that I could get into horse racing. And I went for like 21 days and I hated it, and I just came home. And I hadn't touched a camera yet. I was about 18 years old, and I'd been drawing horses my whole life and like kind of copying other stuff, which I didn't realize that actually helped me curate my eye for the photography thing. But I picked up a really small point and shoot camera that I got, I think, for my birthday, and photographed Dance in the Mood when she came over for the American Oaks. It was a daughter of Sunday Silence, which is one of my favorite horses. And the cameras were so slow. You push the button and then it would take a picture like 3 seconds later.
I know, it's crazy.
So you started like honing those skills, and I ended up picking up a film camera that my mom had. I bought a lens off eBay and taught myself how to shoot film at the racetrack because the cameras were a little bit more responsive that way. And I was working at a bank, and I ended up getting a nice bonus flipping accounts. And my parents were like, save your money, don't buy a camera. And I went and bought my first camera, and a couple months later I got my first assignments, and then the rest is kind of history.
That's incredible. So were either of your parents either into photography or horse racing, or?
My grandfather was a cinematographer, special effects camera operator. My mom loved painting horses and drawing horses, and did art through college before she had me. So there was always a little bit of that there. But for me, I picked up the camera because I figured it was the easiest way to get a credential to get into the racetrack for free. I was like, I couldn't afford to keep going every day.
I know, right?
So I was like, if I get good enough at this, and I'm really competitive. So once I got into it, like I just wanted to be as good as I possibly could.
You want to be the best at it, basically, bottom line. Okay, so 2017 is when you first came here. And then then you came again, because he had invited you back.
Yeah, it would have been 2018 was my first Classic Series.
2018. So between 2018 and Golden 60, was that the time when you got involved? Like, when did you come here and fall in love with Golden 60 and start that relationship with your camera?
So he ran on Champions Day 2019 when Beauty Generation won the Champions Mile. And I'd always, because I didn't know enough about Hong Kong racing, I hadn't had the time to educate myself on the whole product. So I was always kind of looking at American pedigrees and trying to find horses that I could have some sort of association to tell those kind of stories. And when I looked at the race book that day, I see the son of Medaglia d'Oro, which was one of my favorite horses when I was in high school. And to get to see him, and he bred very similar to a mare named Elate in the United States, who's really, really talented. And so he runs, and I just kind of was watching him that day, and he runs past a John Size horse, and in the photo you can see like the look in this John Size horse's eye when he goes by, and he comes back, and Vincent and Francis, you could just tell he was like a little bit different. So I shot that whole thing, and then I just kept an eye on him, and then when it came to the Classic Mile in 2020, when I got to see him again, he's just an incredible horse, and when he won, I got a picture of him out here, and it looked like one of those old artistic paintings where he was just posed perfectly, and just one of the most beautiful horses I've ever seen. And then when he come back, this, like COVID's starting, so I'm traveling with a mask on, and the fans aren't here, and we get to the Classic Cup at the 1,800 meters, and he had a fever, and they're like, we don't know if he's going to run, and all that. And then he had a tough trip, and he's in behind horses, and he missed time with the fever, and then he splits horses, and he comes and he wins. And Ryan Moore, after the race, walks by Vincent and tips his hat to him, and I was like, this is very different too. And from that point on, like that was the day I was like, this horse is just a freak, and he's different. And then it came to the Derby, and COVID was kind of in full swing at the time, and I had my bags packed, ready to come, and I got a call from my reps here, and they were like, maybe you shouldn't come just in case you can't get home to your wife, because there's no guarantees that this. So I ended up watching that Derby from home sitting on my living room table with my dog there, just rooting for him to win. And because you're friends with the jockeys and the trainers and the owners, and you come close to these people, and so you're so happy for them.
Absolutely.
And I was so excited, but then it hit me. It was like, oh my God, I'm not here for that picture, And it was in the sweet spot, and it was just an incredible moment. And it was like, man, that one hurt a little bit, being on the sidelines for that.
But how did you get invited? How did you get the gig to come back? Because you were invited the first 2 years, you were told to come back. But how did you get back into the system here?
After COVID?
After your first gig here. You came for 2 gigs because you were invited.
Yeah.
And then after that, didn't you have to be hired through the club?
Yeah. I kind of kept in contact after Pat had left. I stayed in contact with some of the people and just continued to offer my services, and then it kind of just every
clicked.
day, they would keep bringing me back for the Classic Series and the international meets at first. And then since then, it's kind of evolved a little bit more to doing some ad work and consulting with the safety stewards and a bunch of other stuff. It's been brilliant. It's a dream come true, to be honest.
That's awesome. Because I know there was a time you didn't come for the last time for Golden 60, and I know you were gutted about that.
Yeah, it didn't work out.
It just didn't work out.
Retirement ceremony. And
so I know that might have been a bit tough for you, but I'm sure you'll go and see him in Japan. I know that's something you will do.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It was good because it just shows that like it's okay to miss things. Like you get so attached to it, and you want it, and it shouldn't be your identity, but for me it becomes traveling and telling these stories and sharing these photos definitely becomes part of your identity, and it was something that was really tough during COVID to not have that going on.
Right.
But it's just one of those things. I missed him for the Derby. I missed some stuff, so it's like a fitting way to end it. And to be honest, the last run in the Champions Mile here, when he got the standing ovation from the crowd,
that was incredible.
It was so incredibly unique, and it was almost better to get to experience that, because we experienced the wins, but I never experienced that level of appreciation and fandom, and even to see Zach acknowledge Vincent and the horse when they're coming back, it was just something I'll never forget.
It makes your hair stand.
Yeah,
about that moment.
I'm getting all over it right now.
That's just crazy.